special Easter episode of Flix in the Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo, with me, forever and always, the man, the myth. I didn't come up with anything. Easter Bunny, Alessandro Bielsi.
Oh, look, it's a boat. Oh, so I should have said sailboat, then you would have definitely got it. There it is.
It's a schooner.
No, it's not a schooner, idiot.
This is a very special Cousins episode of Flix in the Six. We have Peanut Gallery Dominick Bielsi. Say hello.
Hello.
An occasional guest host.
An occasional guest host. And avid listener, Mike.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Very good.
Our peanut gallery grew by one that day.
Yeah, I love it. This is a special episode because we're not doing our usual format. It's going to be posted as a bonus episode, and it's just our annual Easter.
Our third annual Easter episode?
Yep. Yeah, third, right?
Yeah.
Jesus. We've been doing it for a little bit. Okay, great. Get a few more listeners. Awesome. So we're not doing news and nuggets. We're just diving right into movies. Casual movie talk. It's a great movie that I love dearly.
Movie that he loves dearly, which is why I was keeping it a secret from him.
So you got it now. You got it from the sailboat. Okay. So for those of you who have not figured it out yet, we're doing Mallrats. We've been talking about it for the past few episodes. I had to rewatch it recently. Graciously, Al watched it with Dominick last night.
No,
you didn't watch. You've seen it though.
Yes.
Okay, that would be really weird if you hadn't seen it.
No, but he's worried like I was that he hadn't seen it in a while.
It's been a while.
Okay.
But the thing is, I've seen most of it multiple times, but I have only sat down and watched it start to finish one time. So I realized, as I sat down to watch it last night, I completely forgot the entire opening sequence.
It's a
the
great
first thing I remember is her walking away in anger and him telling her that he was going to propose to her. That's the first thing I remember happening, and I couldn't remember what happened before that. I couldn't remember the attempted assassination for the previous 10 minutes.
All right, so before we do that, before we get into our Flick of the Week, or day, because you're going to get another episode this week, what are we drinking?
We are drinking Alchemist Beelzebub. It's an American Imperial Stout. It's 8% alcohol by volume. It came in a pint. Typically, Alchemist is pretty...
Sorry, I just saw Dominick's glass. Fantastic.
Yes. Typically, Alchemist is pretty wordy in their descriptions, but this one is not. I do like that it's got a bee on it, because I think there's some sort of honey component to it.
Okay.
Though I'm not sure, because they didn't tell me.
Sure.
Beads? No, not beads. Not beads, bees.
Great. You know what? You want the rest of this?
And there's some very well illustrated hops all over it.
Yeah, I like it. Good can art.
Cheers.
You know I'm a fan.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All four of us?
Cheers. To the Christmas episode. Cheers. Flix in the Six.
Oh yeah, that's working for me.
I like it. It's good. I'll give it a thumb up.
I'm guessing you probably aren't crazy happy about it because it is a little hoppy.
Nah, it's still good though. I like stouts.
I think it's in good because there's some stouts that you can barely taste the hop at all. You get the bitterness to it, and that's definitely what's front and foremost.
Oh yeah.
But there's some hoppiness to it, which is different, which I kind of like.
It's like an arugula salad.
And the bitterness kind of like blooms on your tongue, like as you've been sitting for a couple of
flowery. Look at you.
Right.
We're getting into it.
You know what?
You're in the zone.
I'm
the
in
last
the zone.
couple of weeks. It's great.
Bring my A game.
Yeah.
The Spin Tune has had me rejuvenated, refocused, reloaded. I'm ready to go.
Beer me. So, I mean, the host, it seems like, I didn't realize this went down before, but the host got a decent amount of beer, and then you got, what, a sip? That's
but we know about a sip and a half.
Are you okay with this? Did you agree to this?
I'm alright.
Well, the point is, we're doing the show. They're the Peanut Gallery. I don't want them to be not involved, but there wasn't really enough for any of us to enjoy it if I didn't give them the
I'm going to be inclusive.
Which is why I told them to grab other beers.
Okay. So what are your seconds?
My second is Central Waters Brewing Company, the Barley Wine Ale Brewer's Reserve, aged in bourbon barrels, and it's an excellent beer for those who have not tried it.
I mean, it sounds great. It sounds good. What do you got?
My backup is Corona.
Mike drew short.
You can have any brew you want.
I panicked
as long as it's a Corona.
I'm not going to turn down free beer.
I panicked because we typically keep a lot of beer in the fridge, but all of the food was being like marinated in the fridge. So I got home, and it was like the one thing I forgot to do was put some beers in the fridge. And typically we have a decent backlog of them, but everything that's in there right now is either his or it's show beers. So I didn't want to burn show beers because I only buy them 2 at a time. And so I just ran down here, threw a Corona in the freezer for Mike, threw him in the fridge because I knew he would drink beer. I figured after the show, you and I and Dominick will probably be drinking mojito or scotch. Like I'm probably going to go to whiskey after this. So.
Yeah. I will say, I mean, if worrying about having beer in your fridge is what you have to worry about. I guess we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, we could have had much worse emissions.
All right, so without further ado, shall we get into our Flick of the Week?
Yes,
Look
please.
at the day. It's, like I said, multiple episodes. Bonus. We're off the cuff here. There's going to be noises. There's a dog down here. I'm knocking things off the table.
Right now.
You know what? Give me that. Yes.
Right
There's
now.
a high five that you can hear because it sucked.
Right up.
Let's try it again.
Yeah, let's do one more. Nope.
Oh, nope.
There you go. I got a little clap in there. Right now, the
I'm going to edit out the first two. Jesus.
The dog is headbutting empty beer bottles on the table over there.
He's excited.
He's been a drunk
excited.
since
He likes
day one.
Mallrats too.
He's booping them with his nose.
So, Mallrats is a classic for Kevin Smith. One of the is it the I don't remember the number. Is it
It's the second one.
It's the second. So Clerks, then Mallrats. Clearly higher budget, studio.
Well, for when it's
studio
color.
backed. What'd you say?
Except for when it's color.
True. I've always been a huge fan of this one. The topics of this movie are obviously like right up my
This
alley,
is
right up
probably-
our audience's alley, I'm sure.
This is probably my favorite.
Your favorite?
too.
A lot of people, I feel like, are not that they dislike one or the other, but they are split usually between Clerks and Mallrats if they're big Kevin Smith fans. I'm a Clerks person because it just reminds me of working at the pizzeria. So, where the spin tune originated.
I haven't been able to give Clerks its full due because I saw it all the way through once, but I started watching it at like 11 o'clock that night, so I definitely wasn't fully conscious 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember enjoying the movie, but the problem is bits of it aren't coherent in my mind. Like they didn't adhere in chronologically when they stuck in my memory. There's like a little bit of it over here and a little bit of it over there, and I don't remember how it all stitches back together. But Mallrats, I love. I've been on the record many times I don't love Chasing Amy.
Sure.
Jay and Silent Bob is funny, but it's not really a great movie.
Yeah, it's not my favorite.
I enjoy Clerks too.
It's actually one's really funny.
Dogma is really good, but that one is another one that I've only seen one time all the way through, but I remember being very impressed with it when I had seen it.
With Clerks, what I love about it is it's like chunks of the movie, like it's almost like sketch comedy, like the way that it's put together, right? But they tie it together in a one cohesive story, which I absolutely love. Now, where do you stand? Do you have a favorite of the? Is it Mallrats? A favorite of his? anthology?
No, Clerks is the first one I saw.
Nice, good man.
I think my poor brother was 14, and it introduced us to levels of swearing we never knew existed. And so that's always got us. We both worked customer service jobs, so we related 100%.
Yep.
So we loved that. Mallrats we loved. I'm a big fan of Chasing Amy. Sorry,
Me too.
Al.
He is too.
I really am. My father and I have argued. He says, I don't go to the movies to watch a depressing movie like that. I said, it's real life.
Yeah.
You know, maybe not quite that real.
The funny thing is, your dad is of all of my uncles, the one that I have, for some reason, the best connection with. Sports, we sit down and we talk sports for forever, and we definitely don't see eye to eye on all sorts of movie stuff, but I feel like we would at least be synchronized on some of those things. Although it's not just the depression part.
No, it's Ben
for me.
Affleck. I get it.
That's a big part of it too, but no, the writing of the movie frustrated me.
See, I thought it was his best writing.
Yeah, I think savage.
First time.
Savage. No, yeah, I agree with you. I think the writing of that movie is up there. Dominic, where are you? Where do you land on Kevin Smith movies? Have you seen a lot of
I
them?
will be the unpopular opinion here, saying that Jane Silent Bob was my favorite.
Oh, so great. That's
But
great.
But other than Mallrats, it's the only one that you've seen.
No,
all
I've
the-
seen Dogma.
Did you? You
I
didn't watch it with me.
I
so
really
don't
liked
think so.
Dogma.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
So I know you didn't see Clerks.
No, I
and,
haven't seen
and I know you
Clerks
didn't see
1 or
Chasing
2.
Amy.
I definitely don't want to see Chasing Amy. He poisoned the well on that one.
I mean, you should experience it.
Yeah, it's worth
I gotta say
it's worth
though,
a watch,
Jane Silent
even
Bob
if you
Strike
don't- if you
Back,
dislike Ben Affleck,
and
I know
this
you both do.
reboot with them is making me super excited.
I think it's
because
such a funny idea.
Jason
the
Mewes
reboot.
is just hysterical.
Yeah,
he's
I love
such a goofball. And then the Will Ferrell cameo in Jane Silent Bob Strike Back was just my favorite cameo of all time.
My favorite in that one is Tracy Morgan.
Yeah,
I
that's-
forgot he was.
Pump
I
that
haven't seen it in a long time.
it's a
No,
great
the
character.
hands have the best cameo in that is Mark Hamill.
It's great.
Cockknocker.
That's Cockknocker.
But the Tracy Morgan
Why do
one
they call you
is at the top for
Cockknocker?
me.
Oh, it's a funny story behind that.
The reason the Tracy Morgan one sits at the top for me is I'm listening to one of his Kevin Smith stand-ups. He says that the line is improv. It's Tracy Morgan's friend that's working, like someone that he works with that's standing behind him that has the plans. And he asks for the plans, and there's a split-second delay, and he goes, "Plans!" And it's just a joke, and they kept it in, and they thought it was really funny. And I agree. I thought it was funny, but now knowing that, I think it's much more funny.
Yeah.
We lost one.
No, he'll be back.
He'll be back. All right, cool. So, getting into it, Mallrats. So
Yes.
we'll try to stick with Mallrats. It's okay. It's okay to bring up.
It's
other,
inevitable that we're just gonna draw comparisons to other things, especially other things within the Viewist universe.
Yeah, for sure. It has. I imagine it's a little bit difficult for you to watch. I imagine now because it is Ben Affleck at peak Ben Affleck in your mind.
Yeah, but they used him judiciously. So,
Okay.
and the other thing is he completely leans it. That's what frustrated me about Chasing Amy is he is an asshole playing an asshole who doesn't think he's an asshole.
Okay.
And at the end of the movie, I'm still not convinced that he knows he's an asshole. In this, he's an asshole playing an asshole who knows he's an asshole. So I'm fine with it.
Okay. What do you, I feel like you have a take on
I agree
that.
with you in Mallrats, but in Chasing Amy, he was ignorant. He was
Yeah.
just ignorant about the way he thought, the way he spoke.
Sure, and
His sheltered
the
view
thing
of
is,
everything.
I agree
That's
with
what
that.
I saw.
that's the only bit of growth he had is he finally realized that he was being ignorant about stuff, but he's still an asshole.
No, see, I didn't see it that way. By the end,
What he did with
very near
what he
end,
did-
I didn't quite agree with how he handled
well, that was the thing.
but
What he did with the friend, and I want to call him Brody because it's Jason Lee, but it's not Brody,
Thank you.
and I can't think of his name. The way he handled that scene, that wasn't ignorance. That was being an asshole.
I thought I really didn't see him as the asshole. In that
Yeah,
movie.
you know what it is. He's playing. He has a hard personality that he's playing in that movie, and you're not. Oh, I actually think that he does emotion pretty well for Ben Affleck in that movie.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
But at the end of the day, he is consistently that character. The character evolves a bit. The character learns a bit about himself and about what he thinks. And like you said, it almost seems like character. I'm sorry, we're talking Chasing Amy, but I don't really care.
No, it's going to end up being a kind of a smorgasbord of all of it to a certain extent.
That's fine, but like of all the, it's almost like he's a kid in high school. It's like they never grew up, right? And they didn't because it seems like they got it like working well right out of high school. They're kind of stuck with their old friends, situations, maybe never grew up, and then he has this quote unquote real life experience. It's a bizarre one, but it is a real life experience compared.
Guys, we're going to be eating during this
Oh my
episode.
good lord, that's
Move these wires out of the way.
You're welcome.
There's just lamb chops.
There's lamb chops.
This is just on the table. It's great. Happy Easter.
gonna eat
Yeah, it's going to happen. Everyone just try to time your eating with when someone else is talking.
Right. So Mallrats. Let's get into it. As Al mentioned earlier today when I got here, and he actually texted me last night. Completely forgot about the opening of the movie. The opening of the movie is very, very strong because it's absurd. And the only thing I can say is she fucking died. Like that's it. That bringing that in and then tying that into Clerks with the funeral. Well, I don't remember her name.
The one who died in the pool.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
When
that's
he texted me, I thought you were talking about, I thought you were talking about the governor at first. I was like, no, they just wheeled her off. Like, she was still talking. Like, what?
Oh, okay. So what you were watching was a cut,
Yes.
an extended cut of the movie.
Oh.
Yeah, that's not the real.
That's not the real.
That explains why I didn't remember.
It was the original one he intended, but it wasn't.
Right.
It was in theaters.
Okay, that explains why, because I saw it on DVD a while back, given to me by your brother, and I don't remember that being in the movie. I was like, wow, it really has been a while since I've seen this movie because I don't remember this opening at all.
Yeah, and if you remember a few weeks ago, we talked about the cardboard box for a DVD. I have the Mallrats in the cardboard box with the disc that flips over, and one side is theatrical, one side is extended. When I rewatched it, I watched the theatrical one because I like that. I like that kind of movie.
I just watched the version given to me.
TS is driving to Brandy's house, and he's all excited. They're going away to Florida for vacation, and he's like pumped up. Gets out of the car because, which you know, if you've watched the movie multiple times, he's going to propose to her down in Florida. He's very excited about it, and he's like tapping on the trunk. He's really excited, and she's kind of standoffish, and this really just sets a great pace for the rest of the movie. Because again, kind of similar to the Chasing Amy thing, like they're kind of kids. The guys are kids. The girls seem to have been growing up.
But they also were younger in this movie, though.
Yeah.
They're still in college,
yeah.
as opposed to Chasing Amy, they're out of college.
Right.
Fully working. They're probably 30 years old or 28 years old. You know what I mean?
So what happens is, was it Judy Dwyer? Is that the girl's name that died?
Julie Dwyer.
Julie Dwyer. So she, TS, so she's supposed to be on Brandy's dad's talk show. And she game show, sorry. And TS told her that the camera had 10 pounds, and she went to do laps in the pool to lose the weight and had an aneurysm, and she died. And that's the opening of the movie. That's the true opening of the movie, which is hysterical.
Now this sounds familiar.
It's very dark, and it's just and that's where the quote comes from. But he doesn't know about this. He's like, yes, and it's like whatever. She's like, she fucking died like that, and the only way to calm the dad down, Brandy offered to do the show. and TS is pissed, and that starts out our whole thing. Now they break up in this sequence.
This makes sense then, because I was very confused watching it last night, because I remember thinking he's an asshole with the way he handled the situation. In the version that I watched, she is the asshole.
Oh, really?
Because he's doing whatever reenactment of the Civil War, or not the Revolutionary War.
I've only watched that maybe twice.
And
It's ridiculous.
he goes up to the roof, sneaks up on her. She's doing astronomy homework or something like that. She's looking through a telescope. And there's some funny jokes. He says, I need what's his name, Shaft. And he goes, oh, the shaft is what you needed. And there's some jokes about living in the gutter, literally jokes about living in the gutter. And so he goes, all right, don't stay up here too long. He goes, and he grabs, I don't know if he grabs her wrist for a watch or something like that, and says, 17 hours will be in Florida. And he starts walking away, and she goes, yeah, about that.
Oh,
which is a way worse way to handle it. I'm like, whoa. I was like, I don't remember this at all. I remember that she breaks the news early in the movie that she's not going to be able to go to Florida with him. And she says, yeah, I'm going to be doing a game show for my dad, and they're going to auction me off. And I was like, yeah, that's not the way you handle that. You go to him and do it, not just, oh, by the way, fuck off, I'm not going to Florida with you tomorrow. Like,
yeah.
So the version of you makes me remember now. Because while I was watching the scene, I was like, oh, I feel like I remember him being the asshole in the situation, and he is a asshole, but she's a bigger one. In the version I watched, she is definitely more in the wrong than he is. But the way that you're describing it from the original theatrical release, that is more tracking with what I remember. He was the asshole, the bigger asshole.
In the theatrical version, though, I don't find her to be an asshole. If you look into it deeper, like in the manipulation of her father, like it's very clear what's going on here. But she's actually distraught in the opening, right?
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. I remember it being he was the worse off in that version of it.
Sure,
in this version, the way she handled it was really bad.
Yeah, for sure. But now her father. Let's zoom in on him for a second.
Michael Rooker at his best.
The incomparable Michael Rooker. I absolutely love this man, and I just rewatched Guardians Volume 2 last night, where he's Mary Poppins,
yes.
and it's just, he's so good. I love him. He's so funny. And the first scene that we see him, it is his ass. Like in the theatrical cut, he's like shadow boxing in front of the TV.
No, I saw that part, but it just happens much
later. And then
later
his towel falls off, and it's just his butt.
Yeah, I don't remember.
And it's hysterical. And it's just like this movie.
And there's a camera crew, a TV camera crew outside the window. And you're watching it through the camera.
It's ridiculous. But I love him, and I love the role that he's going to play throughout the movie, which we'll get into more.
Also, I'm pretty sure while he was doing his boxing. Well, as much as they're doing it from behind, I believe you catch a little bit of Michael Rooker's junk.
Is there a little junk? maybe in the TV
There's
reflection?
some flopping. There's some flopping involved. He's doing martial arts, ass naked.
Tasteful nudity.
So in between?
There was some dangling action going
on.
Well,
actually, that also may be extended cut that you watched.
Well, the other thing is, you probably would have noticed it. I was watching it on that fucking screen.
True, yeah. So if Michael Rooker's penis on that screen would probably be about 3 feet. I don't know.
Exactly.
Merle boys. Love him.
Oh my god.
Merle.
Yeah, sad. So with that, we get into our story kicks off, and we meet one of, probably, in my opinion, one of Kevin Smith's best characters, Brody.
See, Brody, that whole scene is before in the version.
So weird.
The scene with Renee where they break up, that happened before, because then TS comes over to the house, says, "Oh, we just broke up." No, and the two of them drive over.
Yeah, that's where they go right after the breakup. They go to Brody's house. TS goes to Brody's house.
No, but you had already jumped to Michael Rooker. That's
what
that was after.
Okay, they did that all together. But okay, so we meet him, and we just meet this ridiculous character, obsessed with comics, absolutely love him from Jump Street. He's amazing, and this is one of the. There's going to be a lot of lines that we'll probably go through in this movie. This is where one of my favorite lines comes in. They talk about how Brody talks about he was just dumped, and he framed the breakup letter, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, that was so weird.
Oh man, she calls you callow in this, and it's like, you say that like it's a bad thing, and he goes, it is. And he goes, it's the only part of the letter I thought was a compliment. But then when the framing of the sentence, Tia says, "I too am in the framing business."
Yes,
I was like, it's so good, and that's why I love his writing. I just think it's just very funny. It's
that's the strength of his writing for sure. Is those sorts of jokes, where it's like,
the whole movie's a soliloquy for me. Like, each character has having their own long.
Well,
one.
there's definitely that too. He's a big fan of someone standing on a soapbox and delivering some sort of speech, but. It's those jokes that are not quite anti-jokes, but you know what I mean? Like, they're like this, like, super nuanced, like, beyond just a dry one-liner, because, like, that's kind of an obscure line, you know what I mean? Like, where you could totally go over your head with ease.
Yep. What is the other one in there? Touch not, lest ye be touched.
Yes!
I tried to teach you how to handle comics when we were in, what was it, like the 6th grade?
Yeah.
Oh my god, he's great. Also, walking around in his, like, ridiculous bathrobe. And then, open. The box was fantastic.
Yes.
And it's really funny. I think we had maybe talked about this a few episodes back. The first scene that we get of him, of Brody, when he breaks up, what's her name?
Renee.
With Renee. Yeah. When he breaks up with Renee, is he's playing Sega and he's playing, was it NHL 94?
Yeah, I think so.
Which we were talking about.
Hartford Whalers.
Yeah.
The Hartford Whalers beating the Vancouver Canucks happens once or twice in a lifetime.
I sit there and I think about those things and I cry. I hate to tell you what I think about when I'm going to the bed. another great line. Now they
do give him the lion's share of the good lines and
Absolutely.
the recurring jokes and everything, because there's
by far the best.
The escalator recurring joke is incredible. He's on the escalator again.
That and the little cup. He carries a little cup around the whole movie.
Yes.
He's got the little cup and he fills it twice.
The funny thing is he actually loses the cup for one scene when he's talking to Renee when she's looking at lingerie.
Yeah.
And then he's got the cup again, and he continues it on, gets the cup filled, and that's when when Ben Affleck comes to beat the shit out of him. Like, is when he's got the cup, and he goes, "Can I offer you a sip?"
Want a sip of my soda?
Yeah.
Can you fill this up, please? No ice. So he says that the only way to heal their wounds. There's only one way to do that, and TS says ritual suicide. He said, no, the mall. I prefer ritual suicide. Great line. We go to the mall, and the rest of the movie takes.
Yeah.
It's a great opening. It's pretty fast paced. I think you get an introduction to all the characters. It's like a good pilot episode.
Well, I was a little thrown because I turned it on. It's a 2-hour movie. I was like, I don't remember this movie being
it's only like an hour and a half.
I was like, I feel like this was a tight hour and a half. Maybe hour 40. Like.
Yeah.
And it was like 2 hours, and now I got an almost 15-minute intro that I didn't realize was not actually part of the movie. Explains.
Well, and they actually, later in the movie, they do reference the Governor's Ball, and if you have seen the extended cut, you know what they're talking about, which is pretty funny. So, we run into, as soon as we enter the mall, we run into Ben Affleck.
Yes.
Well,
they see him.
Ben Affleck,
he doesn't say anything, really. He literally runs into him,
what is I can't remember the exact line. But they're talking. You got to keep your eyes forward, and he's walking backwards, and he gets clipped by the set design, the set piece.
Right.
Like that's
he goes.
Great writing.
He goes. You can't look behind you at the past. You got to keep your eyes forward at all times. And then gets cracked upside the head, and he says, "Maybe you should heed your orders."
Right. And with the sound effect of the clang, of it, which it's like a metal on metal clang.
Yeah.
When it hits his head,
head.
Great, absolutely love it. And from there on, I think we meet Willem. Which is great.
The first time, Oh, look, it's a sailboat.
Yeah.
Damn it. Been here every day.
Trying to see
open the clothes.
Beautiful. And he's, but I'm going to say today's my day. I got a lunch and a soda.
I'm ready for the long haul.
It's a schooner. You stupid idiot.
It's a sailboat. Sailboat is a schooner. You know what? Easter Bunny isn't even real.
Oh my god! It's
pretty
good.
perfect that we're doing this on Easter, considering the Easter Bunny ends up playing a pretty big role in the movie when Brody claims that the Easter Bunny beat the shit out of him, and then Jane Silent Bob beat the shit out of the Easter Bunny.
Yep. Let's do take 2, where you pretend that we knew this going in, and that this was our idea. Try it. Go.
Because we knew this was Easter.
Perfect. So then we got our Mallrats introduction of Jane Silent Bob, which I mean, first off, this movie is the first time you get over the top Jay. right?
Yes.
Because he's funny in Clerks, but he's way too over the top in this one, and sometimes it's a little annoying.
It's also definitely probably the time where he was probably at his worst.
At the
with
most, the
drug
most
use
high.
in real life.
I would imagine.
He also felt like he was playing a character.
Yeah,
where in Clerks I didn't get the vibe.
It was just
I think
him.
he was himself.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I think he gets back to it in Clerks too. I think he's
well, kind of, I guess, because he was clean at that point, right?
Yeah. I
Yes.
think so. Clerks
He was
right?
clean. Well, but I mean, the character was clean too, and
Yes.
too.
Yes.
Oh my god, that.
Doesn't he have a Bible with him?
Yes.
Yes.
And we're listening to
Hey,
Christian,
the
like
holy
death
fucking
metal, like,
Bible.
Yes, but
Oh
he's
my
constantly talking about the path to recovery and all that.
I was offered a lamb chop. I kindly declined because I can't do this multitasking. The beer is already too much for me.
What you do is take a bite while one of us is talking, man.
I've opened the beer and destroyed everything on the table.
Well,
so
that's
let's
true.
just
Well, I was
take
going
it
to put
easy.
it by you. If you notice, no one heard that I was eating. I ate it.
I was actually very impressed. If you've ever listened to the Shit Show, Chris used to eat tacos. It was horrible. It was the worst sound ever in the world. And I didn't know anything about editing at that point, so it's just in there.
No,
It's rough.
I've mastered the mute button when we record over Skype.
Hey, you did good.
You were making heavy use of it last.
I did pretty good. I only a few got through, maybe five good coughs got through.
But those were only coughs because they were induced by me making you laugh.
True.
That's not the same thing.
True. There was one where I thought we were going to lose it because I was muted for a good 30 seconds and I was just having a fit.
Yeah, which is why I just kept talking because I can see you and here you can see us, so you know when we're talking. If I'm going to go on a rant, if he's going to go on a rant, you can take a bite. There's only like 3 bites of meat on this thing.
It's just the whole thing. I'm very self-conscious.
I was just worried. I just figured you were worried about the grease making it onto the screen.
There's that too. I mean, I can't touch it after that, right? I have to touch it to keep the screen on, and then maybe the pinky. I can do the pinky. I do pinkies up while I eat and drink, and that's just because it doesn't really bend that easily. For those of you who can't see, it just bend at the top, but the rest of the pinky is not until it pops, and then it goes in. It's very weird.
Did you learn all of your editing skills while listening to Al's coughing up a storm, sounding like Seth Rogen smoking weed in Pineapple Express?
And that's a great reference.
Yes.
No, and I would not say that I have editing skills per se, but I do know how to cut it a little bit, and tighten.
Just nice clean cuts and tightens. He can do
the sound. You'll notice. Hopefully, you've noticed. I don't know. Actually, I'll have to ask somebody that's listened to the show. The last few episodes, when we do the show, we take a sip of the beer. It's like there's dead air for like a few seconds while we take a sip. I've tried to cut it down.
That's a few seconds.
Okay,
Though.
all right.
It's not minutes.
And I guess you know what we're doing, so I guess it's
Yes.
all right.
Yeah.
And this week I helped you all out by helpfully sniffing the beer directly into the mic.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That was weird.
As it was intended to be.
Wait, why is your shirt on?
That's a good point.
Oh, and here it goes.
What's wrong
There it
with
goes.
you?
Now it's an episode.
Happy Easter, everyone.
Happy Easter. So Jane, Silent Bob, we get them in front of the pet adoption place.
Yes.
Right, correct. And we got
Bye, baby kitties.
we got a little Wolverine Berserker, which is fantastic. We're not even going to go into that too much. Brody asks them to tear down the stage.
Which they were gonna do anyway.
Demolish. Yeah, but they were going to do anyway because they're bored. When they leave, Jay says, "Show some love to the baby kitties. Come on, man, like you animal, like what do you?" And they just and they tap the glass. One of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely hysterical. I love it. We start to get introductions to other characters. Character that chasing Amy. What was her?
Joey Lauren
Joey
Adams.
Lauren Adams, but I don't remember her name.
Damn it, of
in
course I
this.
closed the thing.
That's okay. I've got it.
No, you guys keep talking.
So we get the introduction to her. Throughout the movie, we get more about her. Like we get she dated TS for a while.
She even got her own monologue.
She got her own monologue. Yeah.
Yes.
It's very funny. The really stupid thing of Silent Bob flying through the air.
Not stupid, it's incredible.
It is
Again,
very funny.
great recurring joke.
The dressing room.
Smashing into the
Recurring
dressing room.
joke that she calls back again
Some
later.
guy wanted to see me naked so bad he tried.
I figured I'd save him the hassle.
Oh yeah, and she's just trying the underwear on in the middle of the store.
Yes, Gwen is her
What? Gwen, yes, of course. And then, which we got another great line of Brody coming from off screen, coming on screen. I would have been a sexy chick, and he's got the underwear on over his jeans. Right? Like that's amazing. Absolutely, it's just so funny. But yeah, her character's great. She progresses the emotional side of the story.
Yeah.
She gives them. Because, again, it's really funny. She's of the group. The females are the grown-ups.
Absolutely.
Right, and she is. I feel as grown up in this as she is in
everyone except for Brandy. I didn't really feel like she was that mature, despite the fact that she kept asking for maturity from TS.
Well, again, having a friend just die, I think her perspective.
No, but the other ones, Renee, mature, grown up. Her issues with Brody were very valid.
Yes, they were.
Gwen realizing, I was an asshole when I was younger.
Yeah. If
I had the opportunity to do it all over again, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. I'd be with TS. Basically, what she says to her: if you don't fix it, I'm going to take my next shot at it. And then Trish, who's 15, and they thought she was 38 or whatever it was, 36, whatever it was that he said. Which how? No. But also, I mean, way, way beyond her years, right? Mm. But I actually feel that that Brandy was apart from them. She was not feeling as mature as those three.
I thought she was mature, but held back by her controlling father.
Yeah,
I feel like which impacts her relationships and the way that she acts.
Also, thought her role was underwritten. Of all the main characters, she didn't have a lot of independence with what she did.
Well, not just that, but huge gaps in screen time for her.
Yes.
Yeah.
They pace the other characters better with when they show up on screen. For someone who's so important to the plot, there's at one point there's like a half-hour gap when she's just not on screen.
Yeah, it might help though with her being off screen, like him pining over her.
That's true.
Kind of. I don't know.
That's true.
It's interesting.
Well, she didn't have to be on screen with them. They could have just found some way to pivot back to show you her in the aftermath of having broken up with TS. Because it got to a point where I'm not sure why he's so obsessed with her, because I haven't seen any of the qualities that he would have been missing out on. You know what I mean? Whereas you see it with all the other girls.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, they don't give it to you. You kind of just have to take it in stride, because like all the other female characters are written that way. I think if you just assume that for the rest of the characters, it does. You can fill it in yourself, but I agree with you. It is not displayed. You're not given.
Show me, don't tell me.
Sure. That being said, they did tighten the movie.
Sure.
And
there's some other stuff that they probably could have cut down on, though, that they could have allowed that to come forth naturally.
Sure. Like the Jay and Silent Bob chase sequence.
Yeah. But
you can't cut that out. You just have to extend the movie.
As entertaining as it is, it's a bit gratuitous.
Yeah.
Or the multiple scenes of them failing at doing the thing. Though it does set up a great payoff to the joke. What?
Right. He doesn't know what LaForce is.
Right. I know who LaForce is. Also, I enjoy that, considering Jay talks way too much and Bob doesn't talk at all, that LaForce doesn't say a word either throughout the whole course of the movie. I do appreciate that, as like they're kind of like, especially since Silent Bob is the one specifically who they deploy to defeat LaForce. The fact that neither of them speaks, I think, works really well.
Mm-hmm. Fly, badass, fly. That great scene, great line. Yeah. And also the fact that he's shouting this across the mall. LaForce is looking at it like he's looking at a paper. He doesn't look up for the shouting. Right. And Silent Bob swoops by and his hat falls off and he just looks up. That's it. That's the only.
And the other one, he catches something, right? He catches something that he dropped.
The sack of quarters.
Yeah, so that he was running with the sock full of quarters, and the kid that he pissed off rolls the truck out underneath him, and he slips and falls, and he just catches the quarters.
When Jay and Silent Bob were going over the plans and they have them rolled out.
That I did like, the whole schematic thing.
I do it, but I threw my back out last night doing your mom. Nuge. Like, well, it's such a great. It's so ridiculous.
I think it even says something too about like humping like above him on like the schematic,
and then Jay and Silent Bob dance on the wreckage.
Yeah,
we dance on it. It's so great, and the fact that all they need to do is pull out a pin, amazing.
Yes,
I like that. That's how they were going to take.
Came so close that one time. The one where he was dressed as Batman.
Yeah, with the hands out and he's like flapping his fingers. It's so good. Yeah. So we get the rest of the mall antics. That's basically until the next thing that actually progresses the plot. Like I guess the conversations with okay, I forgot her name again. Chasing Amy.
Gwen.
The conversations with Gwen are what progress the. Like I said, the storytelling, emotional plot of the movie. Whatever. I'll have whatever beer you're
Oh, God. If I don't break everything.
That's great. This is staying in.
Put your editing skills
forward. No, this stays in.
No, it's all in there.
Doing it live. Oh, what is that? That is a ridiculous bottle opener. Are you kidding me? Is that
it's also ridiculously...
That's a putty knife. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's also ridiculously inefficient.
All right, so...
all right, I'm going to give you that one. Sure. Because he doesn't like IPAs. I'm going to give you that one.
Thank you.
I have to actually... my cousin gave me the beer that he was having.
The Bourbon Barrel Barley Wine Ale.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Side note on barley wines, It's not. Yeah, it's excellent, right?
Woo! It's good.
It's good. But
It's strong. That was
problem,
enough.
Yes.
That's it.
The problem is that I went into our local beer world and I asked them, "Do you guys have any good barley wines for sale?" And it's like, "We don't sell wine. What are you talking about? This is beer world."
Oh my god.
And I was like, "Oh,
But not allowed to, man. That's the rules in New York.
but this is barley wine."
Them's the rules.
Them's the rules.
They sell barley wine though there.
Yeah, but barley wine isn't wine.
I know, that's my point.
Oh,
He was
okay. I'm
confused.
sorry.
He's like, no, we don't sell wine. I was like, no, it's a beer. It's a thing. So we went on a Google chase, and the owner of the store, is like looking through all the racks to find any barley wines with me in tow. And finally, I found this one, and very happy with the choice.
We should take a brief pause to mention all the beers that were just added, because there's some really good ones.
What was added?
We got a Victory Golden Monkey here for Mike. This is one of my favorite beers of all time.
Yeah, it's a good beer.
Oh my god.
You got a Lagunitas, was it the Tuberfest?
Yeah, and there's a dog with a hat with a feather in it and a monocle.
Yes, that's the Lagunitas is a
And
dog.
he's thinking,
Well, he's German.
he's got thought bubbles.
He's a German dog. German dogs with
It's amazing.
Hey, in German, probably means this is an excellent beer.
You know what would go great with this?
What?
A cookie from the cookie stand. Now, it's a cookie stand.
Wait, I gotta do my beer first. Keep it in the family. We got another Alchemist beer. We're going Focal Banger.
I hate you so
So
much.
take a sip. I know you
I
love it.
will take a
Can I
sip.
also?
Well, I mocked him with the Heady Topper a few weeks ago. Before you probably heard it.
Before we take a sip, cookies from the cookie stand.
Yes.
Is it part of the food court or an autonomous unit for mid-mall snacking? Go.
I agree with Brody. It's an autonomous unit for mid-mall snacking. It has to be in the food court to be a food court member.
I'm with you.
I never thought about it before that. The fact that he had it that well described, I was not going to challenge him. He clearly put way too much thought into it.
Yeah, because it's immediate.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had never thought of it. Have you never had this one before?
No, it's laughing at me.
It's delightful.
Oh, you didn't get
It's
to
a
come
great beer.
to Vermont for the wedding last year.
No, I didn't. I was in
Oh,
Florida.
they literally had these and Heady Toppers at the bar at all times. in the hotel.
Unlike Alex, who didn't
That's
invite me.
amazing.
Sean invited me. I just couldn't make it.
Well, that's what I was drinking.
So many.
That's what I was drinking in the after party of the wedding, and I ended up very drunk.
I'm gonna have to get.
That's
have
an
to get some
excellent
of that.
beer.
But,
Come on now.
Yeah, I had never thought of it either until watching that movie. But the second he said it, I was like, "He's correct.
makes sense.
I'm not going to argue with him. That's correct. These are facts."
Yeah, and out of the. That's fine. I just have the. I have the.
You may be the loudest walker I've ever heard.
You guys missed the best part of the meal, the antipasto.
We'll be up in a little.
We're almost done. Did you save any?
You better hurry up. Your sister's eating everything.
I find it hard to believe.
Yeah, right?
Want me to bring it down? You guys having a good time?
No,
we're
We're almost done. We'll probably be up in 15.
Oh, what are you doing? The
Yeah.
Hey,
Wow, I wish it was recorded.
It's always recorded.
Oh,
It's a.
I thought I saw you hit pause.
No, I bookmarked it
Has
so
your
that I
dad
could.
has your dad cameoed in this podcast?
He's well,
Now
he has actually. That'll be the closing of this episode. An Italian John Albert. It was amazing. I actually forgot what
we were just finishing up the cookie stand topic.
Extend amazing.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, we've had a lot of distractions.
It's great. It's
Can you
fine.
repeat the question, please?
Is the cookie stand part of the food court or an autonomous unit for mid-ball snacking?
I'm gonna go with the latter.
Yes,
Oh, man,
correct.
you are correct.
Unanimous.
Question for you guys.
What'd you got?
What year approximately did you first see this movie?
That's a good question.
When did June get married?
Like 08? 09?
No, it was after I was out of high school.
It was when I was a sophomore in high school.
Okay, so 2010, 2011. That's when
fair
I saw
enough.
it.
06.
That's when I saw it.
Or 06. Because I saw it in 95.
Okay. Well,
Wow.
There's a quite a big age gap here. I did not know who Stan Lee was when I saw this movie.
wow,
And
that's
I have a feeling you guys all knew who he was.
sure.
Yeah.
So my brother and I gave the look of like, is this some made up character?
Right.
movie.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
And so like watching Captain Marvel this week, I went to the theater a second time to see it. You see him reading the script, and I'm like, like it brought me back to
so
me
full
going,
circle.
is this a real guy or is it an actor I've never seen playing somebody famous?
That's great.
You know, I couldn't believe it.
Well, that was the thing is at the time that I had seen it, that was only still in the nascent bit of the MCU coming up.
But he still made appearances in X-Men,
But I had had the benefit of all of that.
Yes.
So I knew who he was.
Right.
Even although the first couple times I saw X-Men and Spider-Man, I didn't know who he was at that time.
Sure.
But I found out quickly after, and then upon rewatching them, I'd be like, "Oh, cool, Stan Lee." And then I saw that I was like, "Wow, this is really cool." way beyond just a cameo. It's, a bit more than that because he gets his own monologue.
Now, don't take this for fact. I think if I remember the story correctly, so Kevin Smith did a great speech about Stan Lee and how heartwarming it was that they did this with him in the movie. And Stan Lee hadn't been on screen except for one episode, from what I understand, in a courtroom of the old Hulk TV show.
Yes,
and
that was the Incredible Hulk.
And it was just that. That was the only time that he had been on screen.
Because that was before any of the MCU movies, before the Spider-Man movies.
Mm-hmm. So, to a degree, he feels like he put him on screen, and he is modest about it. But that he put him on screen and made
it a thing to have him cameo.
Right, and then he was in tears talking about this as he explained how they called him to do this. He's like, Kevin Feige calls him, and he's like, when Kevin calls, you answer. And he's like, and not at one point during that did I think that they were going to ask me to direct.
Right.
But
can we just pause everything and have a drink
cheers?
for
Another cheers?
Stan Lee?
Just Stan Lee.
Yeah.
Stan Lee.
Yeah.
Excelsior. Yeah, I'm not surprised that Kevin Smith hasn't been asked to direct a Marvel movie. I am a little surprised that they haven't found some way to work him in. I would have figured that he would have been a candidate to do an episode of The Mandalorian for Jon Favreau.
Yeah, I mean, I started. My first comic I read was maybe 7-8 years ago, but 90% of my comic knowledge comes from Kevin Smith.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Listen to his podcasts. I listen to him interview all these famous creators of comics.
Oh, you listen to all those?
Listen to every one
of them. Because he listens to them.
Yeah.
But they were great, and I had absolutely no prior knowledge of them.
Okay.
I didn't know who Jim Lee was. I didn't know who Neil Adams was, and I was captivated by all of it. I had heard of Kevin Conroy. I watched a couple episodes of the show.
Kevin Conroy.
It was all of them are great, and it got me wanting to read. And so I started to read Watchmen, which of course Kevin Smith didn't write, but I didn't care.
Yeah.
And so me not knowing who Stan Lee, who's an absolute legend, was. Looking back, I'm mortified by it, but I didn't ever hear of him until then.
But you have a unique perspective and experience, and that's great. That's fantastic. What was it? You said 7 or 8 years ago you started reading some?
Yeah.
What was the first comic?
Watchmen.
It was
the
Watchmen.
first,
And what have you got? Any favorites since then?
I did Hush. I did Long Halloween. I did.
Oh, I love Long Halloween.
The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah. That probably my favorite.
I did the Snyder Capullo run of the New 52 of Batman.
Okay.
And I liked parts of it, and I didn't like other parts of it.
I feel like it started early was strong, and then a few in, I started to drop off, and I didn't get past it, and I really want to.
My cousin and I agreed. He told me early on, Batman has 38 people on his team. Because they don't want to offend anybody by cutting out any of the Robins, so he just has every Robin.
Right.
It was a little much. Where Year One I read, I liked Year One. V for Vendetta, which was again back to Alan Moore, I liked that a lot. And then I kind of fell off again, not reading as much. But
did you read any of the Killing Joke or
Killing Joke?
See, I watched all of the animated movies on Year One. Dark Knight
you watched them? Okay.
And Dark Knight Returns. I never read the comics. I know that's pretty much everyone's favorite, but. Oh my God! The movies for that, the animated movies,
it's
are
weird.
Fantastic.
Oh,
it's a little weird, but I thought
I missed his inner monologue in the movie of Dark Knight Returns. I liked having that in the book, and the side characters are a little weird. The two little flying,
it's a little over the top, and the mutants are a little bit much, but everything else in the movie, the acting. The voice acting too. For those Dexter fans, Stan Liddy was the voice of Batman.
Nice.
And
most people know him as RoboCop.
I don't.
Yeah, Peter Weller's good.
Yeah, but he was great as that. Him versus Superman. His quotes, the music in that movie was fantastic. It gave a lot of gravitas and drama to it. But the movies did a very good job. I didn't really read the comics. Year One, again, another great animated movie too. But yeah, those animated movies. Took the place of me reading the comics, and I've been.
Which is, I think that's fine for me with those things. It's I just love the story, and whatever your medium is for receiving the story, that's fine. I know there are people that are very pretentious about you have to read the book, and I disagree. I don't think that's the case. I think some people might like the book better. That's fine, and I'm okay with that. But I'm a very visual person.
Me too.
Comics and movies help me with. I enjoy it more.
I feel that about certain properties. If you love,
You're a good mix, though.
yeah, if you love the Lord of the Rings, you should read the Lord of the Rings books.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
stuff like that. If you love Game of Thrones, you should read the Game of Thrones books. But I don't feel it's a necessity for every medium. And I was never a big comic reader myself. I've read some of them. I've read Watchmen. I read V for Vendetta. Most of the other stuff that I've read has all been tie-ins to some sort of thing. Like Dark Horse did tie-in series for the Mass Effect games that were canonical thing, like tie-ins that weren't necessities to know, but that I wanted to know. So I read the Dark Horse runs that they did for Mass Effect 2 and 3. I've read other stuff too. I bought them as full books. I lent you the first one. You never read the second one.
Yeah.
For Coheed and Cambria's their concept. The whole band is a concept. Every album is tied into one story, with the exception of the one album that they did. And the first two, there was comic runs that went along with and expanded upon the story told throughout the album itself. So I have both of the first two books that were done into one full trade, and I've read those. But beyond that, I loved like the DC and Marvel animated shows and movies of Masters of the Phantasm we did on the show last year.
Seeing that in the theater.
I really loved that as a kid. And I remember I watched the X-Men show, one of the Spider-Man ones, the Batman animated. What was it? The animated series, Batman the animated series. I watched some of Batman Beyond when I was a kid. So like I've enjoyed the material, even if I didn't read all the stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
Going even a step further, talking about Alan Moore before, have any of you guys read the Walking Dead comics?
Yeah.
Because he has the Walking Dead mug there. But
I haven't.
the show this season was very good compared to the past few, but oh my god, if you go back and read the comics, one of my favorite comics of all time, Robert Kirkman, Charlie Adard, and Alan Moore. And oh my god, the comics are so much.
I didn't realize Alan Moore was.
So
yes, he's
I didn't
involved in
either.
everything.
A lot of people are very say that, and and that's fine if you feel that way. That's fine. I am from a different mind where I think that I personally do like the story of the comic more. I'm not. I don't say that it's. I never like to say like, oh, it's better than the show. Because the show goes in so many different directions.
Yeah.
Which I think is okay.
Yeah.
My problem with the show is not necessarily the direction of the story that they take, but
it's the writing.
It's the writing
Yes.
and AMC's involvement with it.
But I believe this past season
It's
was,
not on AMC. AMC has a lot of other good shows. I've been catching up on the ones that I missed in recent years. *Halt and Catch Fire* was a very good show. *Mad Men* is an excellent show.
AMC's involvement, though, is the count of episodes that are required for the season.
Fine,
That's a problem.
but the point is, if you the count of episodes is the same as it was on *Mad Men*.
That's fine, and maybe they had stronger writing, but the comic story, like they are all trying to stretch.
Breaking
They're
Bad
trying to
and
stretch
Better
the
Call
It
story.
needs to
Saul are
be 8
excellent
episodes.
too.
Make it 8 episodes.
Right,
Don't make it
100%
15.
agree. This final season of Game of Thrones, 6 episodes. You guys are doing it right. I'm sorry, you're doing it right. Like you have.
I bet they could do 12.
And that's what I've been
could,
saying
but-
about the Netflix shows, the Marvel shows before they canceled them. They
little
should have
too
been
long.
doing is, hey, we only have 10 episodes worth of story this season. We're going to do 10 episodes. We're not going to stretch it across 13 and find filler because that's when it drags.
Iron Fist was like 8 episodes too long each season.
Yeah.
that was like 13 episodes too.
It was rough. It was rough.
But I don't view it as an AMC specific issue because they have had a bunch of other shows that are actually good that maximize their time on screen.
Yeah, that's fair. But oh my god, that kid is back on the escalator again. So
I was gonna say we should get back to
Mallrats. Again, we brought this up earlier. That's my favorite callback joke in the movie.
Yes, it's brought back. They don't bring it back too fast.
Nope.
It's just always in the background, then finally you bring it right back.
Not 1 year goes by, right? So first off, we find out that he has this thing.
And it's a complex joke too because of the way it's delivered with that inciting incident of you saying where he gives the backstory to it with not 1 year goes by, and then 10 minutes later when they're talking to Trish, he's saying it in the background and he does it a couple of times and then they leave it alone for like half an hour. And then it's just in the background.
Oh, there's a kid stuck in the escalator. Amazing. It's so and they don't flinch.
No.
When it happens, so good.
And all of it happens off screen.
Oh my god, it's
It
amazing.
was like his way of saying, "Oh, I made a point of it," and they didn't listen.
So
You reap what you sow.
so we got that. We're moving through. We got a few clips of. We got Willem.
Honestly, they could have done without if you want to find out where you could clip the runtime a bit, they could have done without the whole flea market thing.
The other mall?
Yeah.
See, that never felt, because if you watch it without that really long beginning, the movie just flows.
Yeah.
Right, but
With that long beginning,
I'm with
I
you.
agree with you.
Well, I guess I would have just cut the preamble to meeting with the woman. There's a whole, we're leaving the mall, we're driving to the other mall, we're getting backstory on this other mall, we're walking through the mall, and now we're gonna go and see the.
And I kind of like the being at the one mall, but
Yeah.
the beginning, if you watch that, it drags by the time.
Well, the other part was I started watching it at 11:45 last night, so I'm just gonna say, guys, I dozed off for about 10 minutes. I missed the Stan Lee thing. I rewatched it this morning. I've seen it before, so I know the thing. I rewatched it this morning just to refresh it for the conversation.
Sure.
But I realized I woke up and I was like, "Fuck! I've been asleep for 8-10 minutes. I'm not rewinding."
You can't cut out of that flea market scene. Another great writing line is when she says, "Fuck us," and he says, "What is
Yes,
it?"
please.
You
read
read
my
my
mind. You read my mind.
Exactly what I was thinking. Whatever. But it's just
No, I'm good with having that because
fine.
it's what spurs them to finally try and be better. It was the preamble leading up to it. Like, just get me in the room with her. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh, you have a third. You have a third nipple.
what do you mean?
doing it in full time, yeah.
So good. And we've
So how does it work? Does the prophecy not work unless you're topless? Or
So we get back to the mall. We get the beat up sequence, which is the sequence where Shannon gut punches Birdie the first time we hear in the back of the Volkswagen. Another recurring joke.
that's the first one.
I think it's the first time, and then not Dante, Gil hit.
No, sorry, no.
on the show.
Well, like the back of the
Oh, so that because Trisha, they do it in the conversation with that as well. Was that not before, or was that after?
Oh no, I think you might be right.
When they were talking about the first
introduced
time.
Trish fairly early, just to.
He says like the back of a Volkswagen, and she says, "I wish."
Yeah.
that is great. And we get the game show and the.
Oh no, it is after. You know what? It's the second time they talked to her because he says something. Because Brody says something. Oh no, sorry, wrong. It was Gwen. Gwen who does it. She says, "Yeah, that sounds like his MO."
You know what's yeah.
That's what it was. I was confusing the two.
Well,
Yeah,
after-
Trisha was earlier. Then they do it with the time when Brody talks to him when he's beating the shit out of them. Then it's when they talk to Gwen, and then they hold off until the quiz show finally.
After the beatdown, though, when he's in his bloody nose and he's sitting in the candy shop, and an completely unnecessary sequence, but absolutely shouldn't be cut. They beat up the Easter Bunny
Yes.
for him, which I think is
great.
all I told him was that the Easter Bunny at the Menlo Park Mall was more convincing. Like, it's fantastic. It's so.
We're gonna beat the no, guys. He's under a lot of pressure right now.
And then one of them holds him, and the other one starts wailing on him.
Yes, and then the kids stop beating them up.
Oh my god! It's so ridiculous. But so we get and this is where I say that Jay's a little over the top. But like you said, or I think it was you that said that he's like playing the character.
Yeah, it's a bit more character.
It's he says Snoochie Booch is a little too much in this one, and that's how you can tell. Like he is playing himself. But when he pulls the weed out from behind his hair,
my God.
I think that's
Awesome.
hysterical.
Awesome.
And if you rewatch the movie multiple times, you realize that you could see it, which is kind of funny. But now
Also,
that you know it's
they
there,
kind of do that sort of joke a couple times because LaForce does that when he's framing Brody and TS, where he doesn't say anything. He takes the hat off, and the weed comes out, and he just drops it, and he goes, "Oh, I see."
What about we skipped over Silent Bob's bat grappling hook with the scene from the '89 Batman?
Well, we just mentioned that the scene was too long or gratuitous.
I feel like he said in one of his podcasts where that was him at his heaviest.
Oh, really?
And how
It's
that
tough to
was
tell because he wears such that baggy jacket.
He said that. He says, I wore the big baggy jacket.
That's funny.
That's not what I
if you
think
look at
of
his
him being
legs,
the
though,
biggest. I think of him being bigger and chasing Amy for some reason. Maybe it's because it's a less
But he's
physical role.
He's almost seated behind a
It's true. He's only in the
in
one
a booth.
sequence in the booth.
chasing Amy. Both of them are used so well in that movie because that's their only scene.
also his greatest
Yeah.
his greatest
It's
line.
his best line.
Yeah.
Even though you'll laugh more in Dogma with his line, or you'll laugh with No Ticket from Indiana Jones, his whole chasing Amy story is
It's good.
you could tell this was a personal movie.
Oh, sure.
And that was his way of somehow, in 2 minutes, summing up, yeah, I lived this.
Well, I forgot that he finally said something in Mallrats too. He says one or two words.
The
I thought it was-
adventure, excitement, energetic.
Yeah, that's what it was.
These things.
Each movie he has
The Yoda
one or
line.
two lines.
Speaking of that, though, when he's hanging upside down and he focuses his
Yes.
mind and then he reaches out for the tape
it's-
and it pops up into his
it's
hand and
awesome.
then he just blank stares directly at the camera. Amazing.
Yes.
So good. So also, how he's wiring up the VCR. He just has
completely
Leatherman, and he's just like tapping.
Completely gratuitous. And I remember that from the first time I watched it, but I'd forgotten, and then reminded of me when I was watching last night. Yeah, he's just tweaking things. Like, he's not even doing anything.
Yeah, he's hanging upside down. He's reaching at the VCR. He's touching tape. He's touching the tape and the wires, just tapping them with the. And then he just looks up. And he just does something else.
You could argue you'd never use that tool ever in that situation.
It's perfect. Oh my god, it's amazing.
It's perfect.
Then they knock out the guys with the weed. Fantastic. And then they go on the the fact that they go on the game show. After the sink bomb.
Oh, by the way, that was the part that I woke up on was right when they knock out the 2 guys and they're gonna replace them.
The stink bomb scene is phenomenal.
Isn't that great? When he's that is the most disgusted I have been watching something.
Yes.
When he's licking his.
Oh my god!
Oh, it's.
I still every time I see him, Michael Rooker, I'm like,
reaction.
Oh no, man.
Yeah. Oh, you licked your shit.
Oh.
That's horrible. Oh. And he says when Brody's explaining it to him, it's like you stick your hand down your pants, and he's got his hand and it's in there, and he goes. Well, what do you? But then you have to go around walking with a stinky palm.
Worth the price.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. And one good turn deserves another as he's eating the. And he does this. He's like a thespian. I feel like.
Yes.
The way that he interacts.
He's rubbing the pretzel. The pretzel's melting off.
Well, the best part is how it starts too, because Brody forces the pretzel into his hand and then smears it as he's coming.
When he grabs his food and he cum loud 69 and goes, I like to cum loud, preferably the 69.
Probably the best booty joke in the whole movie.
It's just snappy.
I too would like to cum loud, preferably the 69.
But so we get into the game show. Speaking of ridiculous, great jokes. Also, take your socks off while you're making whoopee or whatever it is.
Yeah. He doesn't like that.
He doesn't like what?
Nothing.
That's a great scene. The Brody character is more realistic that she would have the hint of, but not necessarily know that it's him. TS is too straightforward with it. I think, which is fine.
Well, the other thing though is. In what world do you not recognize Jason Lee's voice? It's such a unique voice. Like, the second he opens his mouth, I understand that it's not her boyfriend, but it's her boyfriend's best friend. And she eventually figures out, hi, Brody, and she asks him the question about the comics. If you were a superhero, who would you be?
That's a great question. Do you pick flight or do you pick invisibility?
Hi, Brody. So how did it take her that long to recognize his voice?
Yeah.
Your friend's obsessed with superhero dongs. Superhero
genitalia.
Oh my god, that's fantastic.
It would have been better if Stan Lee said superhero dongs.
Oh my god, that would have been amazing. But what I love is immediately when we first introduce Brody on stage, he's frozen, and then he very quickly warms up, and then when Gil's frozen, he's like, come on, asshole.
He's in his element.
The interplay between him and Gil is great. Even though, first of all, Brian O'Halloran in that fucking wig is ridiculous.
Yeah. What kind of noises would you make when we were making? I don't want to answer that. It's kind of personal.
I didn't look at the face and doing the thing the whole audience can see him.
But as someone who saw Clerks first, we were excited. All right, they got one of them.
Well, I watched them in order, but I didn't recognize him at first. The first time I saw it, and then I was just like, oh my god, that's Dante.
And so he's Dante Hicks. He's Gil Hicks. I forget his name.
Oh, was it his last name Hicks? I didn't even realize.
But that was the recurring.
Was he in Jason?
He's also in Dogma. He's
yes, he's one of the MTV executives where Matt Damon is right behind them. When Affleck and
one scene the two of them are in.
They're going to sell Bluntman and Chronic as a TV show.
Yep.
I forgot that he was in one scene.
I think maybe Matt Damon's only line is Snoochie Boochies. He barely
was
speaks.
that his only line? I know Ben Affleck spoke more, but it's mostly
literally right behind them as the.
And in Dogma, he's a newscaster.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That is
might
funny.
be Grant Hicks or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a little different.
That's really funny. I love that. So we get that ridiculousness, and would you ever make love in public? Already did once today. Great line. Super passionate, yeah. He's a little.
Well, I just like first I would take you to dinner at the restaurant that you choose, and this and that. Then we would drive to the beach.
We'll take him out the Flater Mouse.
Yes. We would drive out to the beach, and I would play beautiful music while we slow dance on the beach. Where do you come up with this shit?
I saw him making out with two guys backstage. Hey man, I'm not gay. You hear that?
You hear a homophobe?
As a homophobe. he's amazing.
Yeah.
Also, great cameo in Clerks 2.
Yes.
But yeah, Affleck and Lee had the tiny cameos.
Yeah.
Too.
I forgot Affleck was in Clerks too, but yeah, Jason Lee when he comes in, he's what's his name's Randall's friend from high school or something.
Well, they were not friends.
Well, whatever. You know what I mean?
But he was like a Google-ish kind of search engine.
Manduckets.com.
Yes. Manduckets, yeah.
Yeah, don't insult the guy.
That whole scene. I have to rewatch Clerks too. I saw a bit of it a while back. I really like that movie.
Elias.
And that's where I argue with Kevin Smith. His first 5 movies are so different from his next 5, or really the most recent ones with Tusk, Yoga Hosers, Red State,
the Great North trilogy.
Yeah, they're not him.
That's everything after Clerks too.
But his argument is that the early movies were before he was famous, before he was rich, before he lived in Hollywood. He made Clerks 2 and Zack and Miri in his much later years.
But the thing is, those 2 movies are still fine.
They're phenomenally funny. So that's why I don't agree with him.
Yeah,
because he can still rate that.
The issue is when he tries to do other things, and so I can understand and appreciate why he would creatively want to do it.
If he says
but
he's
just
bored
not.
of it, sell me on that. I can get that.
Well, I'm
sure
that's what it is.
Zack and Miri, you will die laughing at certain points.
Yeah.
Clerks 2, oh my god.
Oh my god, Zach! Quick thing on Zack and Miri. Can I get a coffee black? Can't you see we talking? White. Amazing. I forgot about that. So much. Doug Judy on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He's fantastic. I'm finally for the first time watching The Office, and he's Daryl, and oh my god, is he great? He's so funny.
He's great.
I forgot about the lines.
He's great.
But yeah, it's whenever he tries to do something else. Like I understand why creatively he would say, "Oh, maybe I want to try something different, challenge myself." Totally respect that, but realize when it flops and it flames out completely, it's just not for you, man. Because Jersey Girl is, from what I understand, very much not up to par with everything else.
It's better than I.
And everything after.
I'm in the minority of Kevin Smith people that isn't a huge fan, but that's him in his life being a dad.
But that's fine. What I'm saying is, you took your swing and you missed.
Yeah.
But then just leave it at that. You know what I mean? He keeps going like all the things after Clerks 2, or I guess after Zack and Miri, because that was 2008, I think. Everything after Zack and Miri. Yeah, but he didn't direct it, though. He
directed it, he didn't write it.
Oh, verse by
and that's why if you watch it, you're like, this doesn't feel like
a studio.
And everything else. Red State. I know you like
Red State.
I know you like the other 2, too.
Well, no, hang on.
Well, I know you like Yoga Hoser.
I think it's fun. I don't think it's very Kevin Smith. I enjoy it. I see what it is. I also love Ralph Garman, so I like seeing him in it. I think that was fun. And I actually think Tusk is a great scary movie. I think it's silly. It's a good B horror movie.
Wasn't he originally involved? I remember when I finally saw part of it and looking at it, I didn't see his name in there, but wasn't he originally attached to Krampus? And didn't
he had a Krampus idea.
He had a Krampus idea.
I remember because when the movie came out, I thought it was his movie.
Yeah. No, him and Mosier would talk about that on Smodcast a lot.
Which is where Tusk came from.
Which is
I think something we talked about on a podcast, and it became a movie.
And it was hashtag, was it?
Yeah, I remember there was a whole.
Walrus, yes.
I remember there was
yes,
a whole thing where it was kind of like the Joaquin Phoenix, you were never really there, like performance art, like meta performance art. I know that's kind of what Tusk was born of.
As far as he has the Great North, this concept of the Great North trilogy, which is Tusk, Yoga Hosers, and Moose Jaws. And I really do want to see Moose Jaws.
That's what I want to see.
Because Jay and Silent Bob played Quinn.
Together.
I got to see him in Caroline's down in Manhattan, and he read right from his phone. That's where he types his scripts, is on his damn phone.
Sounds incredible.
He's reading a passage, and you're dying laughing. He read a scene from the movie of Jay and Silent Bob, or whatever, Muse and him.
When you saw him at Caroline, did the O fall off the wall while he was performing?
Not that I remember.
Okay, because I saw him there too, and he did the same thing.
He did that, and you get your Q&A, which God bless these people. They'll wait online for 2 hours.
Oh my God, yeah, it goes
to
on
get their question out there. But it's. But that's the one I want to see. Because Tusk disappointed me, Red State disappointed me, Yoga Hosers. I got a lot of phone work done during that movie. I'm not gonna lie.
And honestly, that's fine. And I watch those movies and I go, people aren't gonna like this. But at the same time, I'm like, I love it. And I'm okay with the fact that I could probably, if I were on the rewatches, I probably have to do it on my own.
Yeah.
Because nobody's gonna really want to watch it with me. Actually, Kim was into Yoga Hosers. We saw that one. We saw that.
Well, I remember there was a whole big
Basie
thing.
Red
is that
Bank. He
you-
was there. He opened the show. We watched the movie. He did a Q&A after. It was pretty
That's
sweet.
awesome.
It was a great night.
Have you ever done the Secret Stash?
I went in quick. I haven't
We did it back in like 05.
Yeah.
Like 4 of us dudes on like a Tuesday morning
Nice.
at like 10 a.m. Like, why aren't you at work? You know. Now I'm a teacher, so I was off. I can't justify the other 3. But there was a big, and Walt was there.
Okay.
But not Kevin. Kevin was probably in California. And we didn't even really try to engage in conversation. But we walked around the store, which is also a set piece in Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah.
I think it was Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash as opposed to...
When I went, they actually had the whole tusked walrus on display in the on a rafter type thing. It's if you look up, it's there. And Kim went, "Oh God," because she finds that terrifying.
It's pretty creepy.
And every once in a while I do I don't know why it just pops into my head, but Ralph Garman's ooh more margaritas. I do that, and she goes no. Because that's the ringtone in that movie. It's good. But all right, what I'm going to do here is closing thoughts on Mallrats, because let's wrap this up and get back to the family. Go around the table. Al, I feel like you're ready to say something.
Oh, I was going to do a quick circle back to something he just said 2 minutes
go
ago.
for it.
Getting some phone work in while watching Yoga Hosers reminded me of him texting me while watching Phantom Thread after hearing that we were going to finally do it for the show. And he goes, I never do things while I'm watching a movie. If I have to do something, I pause it. He goes, I did laundry, I did my dishes, I went to the bathroom a couple of times, I did something else. Like
A phrase that I'm going to bring back right now. Bless your heart. For watching that movie, just so
you know, you're the only reason I watched that movie.
I appreciate that.
As I said, you and I see eye to eye in a lot of movies, and I was like, I know this is going to be terrible, because I agree with Anthony, but I have to see it.
You gotta know what it's about.
And then, so when Al finally watched it, that's why I almost drove off the road when he described it as a delight.
Well, because
I was on the road.
I workshopped the idea. Me and him discussed it before I tried to ambush you with the mindfuck. We discussed me doing that, and you were just so put off by
hearing
it.
you. I pictured you walking around your room.
Yeah.
When he said
I
delight,
rolled away.
like
Sure.
throwing stuff.
I will recreate for
pulling
you.
your hair out.
I'll recreate for you exactly what happened. I said it was a delight. There was silence for 2 seconds, and then he just did this. And turned around and poured himself some whiskey.
In the car, it felt like 8 minutes, and I'm just like, I was convulsing. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to keep this car on the road. I was like,
because I had a whole thing planned out where you were gonna be mad about it and interrogate me, and I was just gonna sell it, and instead you were just so disbelieving that you just were hard pause, get the whiskey, and get back and no, you're not being serious. I knew you're joking with me.
I'm generally a quiet person, which is part of the reason why I do this. Is I'm trying to speak more, and that's why I do the show. And one of the things, even though I'm quiet, I can get more quiet if I'm mad. Or
I didn't mean
understand. I will recede, and that's what happened.
I didn't mean that you were going to start shouting at me, but I just figured it was going to turn into a full-on inquisition, not a silence. Justify yourself. It was just I was just watching The Matrix. It's a cipher. I don't believe it.
Well, the idea when Al first told me that the last movie, the Daniel Day-Lewis, we got Lincoln, and we have Bloody Bill Butcher, and the last movie he was going to fucking make was Phantom Thread. I'm I'm just automatically not going to see it.
I will no longer give that movie any time. Any other closing thoughts on Mallrats?
Okay, getting back to that, I think that this is probably my favorite one. I would have to rewatch Dogma to see if that's in there, because there's a lot that I liked in it. I don't think they pace out the comedy a little bit more throughout the course of it, and it's a more quote-unquote dramatic movie, or an action movie, I guess, technically, and it's very philosophical, although all of his movies to some degree are philosophical, right? But
Jay and Silent Bob was philosophical.
maybe not that one. All the other ones. But more specifically, dogmatically philosophical, right? It's in the title. I didn't do that as a joke like that. I did it intentionally because that was the whole point. But it's a better blend of all these different things.
Yeah.
It's comedy, it's philosophy, it's action, adventure, it's all this stuff. But there were so many things. A lot of it is very well written, and it probably has my favorite cast. as well. Even though I think Mallrats gets me the best. It's the easiest watch where you just sit down and laugh at it. Even though there are some serious times with it, but I love the cast in that. Alan Rickman as Metatron is incredible. Especially the whole first sequence where they're sitting at the Mexican. He's 2 tequilas and he's spitting the tequila out. Incredible.
So good.
And you get Jay and Silent Bob. They get a lot more screen time than any other movie. You get Chris Rock as the 13th Apostle. Affleck. That might be my favorite Affleck role.
Very subdued.
Because it's more subdued.
Really subdued.
But again, he's playing an asshole.
Yeah. To villain effect, which I think is...
When they use him as a villain, that's why Chasing Amy is such a hard sell for me. Is they're trying to push you that he's the good guy, and I just can't.
But I'm going to agree. For me, and I think we aligned very well on this. Me and Mike, he's kind of broken. Like he's not there
devastation
yet.
to perfection.
But those parts of the movie I'm fine with. He does perform that better than he does other things in general. But my issue is a central issue to the movie.
Yeah.
I cannot embrace it for what it is with him as the cornerstone of the movie. I just can't do it. I just can't get there.
That's fine. And I like that we have these different points of view.
But they play him as a villain, and it's a little bit more subdued. It's a less loud, showy performance. And him and Damon together, no matter how much I dislike him, the two of them are good together.
Yeah.
So that movie has maybe the best blend of so many different elements in it. That's the one that I would be the only one I would think would challenge Mallrats in my own personal hierarchy.
Okay, cool. Down.
I gotta say that I really wish I had time to watch Mallrats before we
yeah,
did this.
that's fine.
But,
which is why I said you would be peanut gallery.
Honestly, I think it's a little bit better this way, because if you want to keep this persona going throughout the history of Flix and the Six, you do need to be like kind of offset peanut gallery, and I think that's fine. And if you want to derail it, I'm open to it.
I just think he has alternating roles. When there's the ones where he's going to be the guest host, he can be guest host.
Sure.
But when he is
if you're in the peanut gallery, you can interject. Or you can derail as much as you want.
Ooh,
I think we'll make it work.
Well, we'll have to fill it with more awkward high fives that we don't get the sound quality.
That sucked. I'm sorry. That was weak. I'm gonna find other people. Mike, how do you feel?
I guess I have two thoughts. First, when I listened to your show, I thought you had like a piece of paper or a list of stuff on a keyboard.
We usually do. This is not how we normally do it.
You just ran through the movie in pretty much sequential order,
Yeah.
without anything in front of you,
and
that was impressive.
Did
that happen first? You had it in order, and that
most of the time we have bullet points in front of us, but this was meant to be a little quick and dirty guerrilla style. No, it was the four of us instead of two of us.
I was impressed. You seriously, I was like, yeah, you have like a piece of paper, at least having it in order. Nope. You had it in order.
My notes are generally out of order.
Well, yeah, from a chronology standpoint, we don't usually have it in order, but we usually do have bullet points. I don't know if he's had them over there. I went in this cold. I just watched it last night, but it's a movie. I was just a refresh watch. I've seen it a few times. So.
Yeah,
it's a good 30 runs for me. I've seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it that many.
I've seen it probably 30 times. The problem is it was between 95 and 05, and so I love the movie. It's probably 4 out of 5 out of his first 5.
Yeah.
And it's not a knock on this movie. I'm a Kevin Smith fanatic.
Yeah.
Dogma to me is a good movie, but it's the least rewatchable.
Oh, okay, cool.
Where Jay and Silent Bob might be quote unquote the worst of them. There's no part of that movie that isn't just ridiculously funny. So I love Mallrats. I really do.
Yeah,
it's
a great flick.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. So similar to Mike, Clerk's my favorite. I think Mallrats probably a close second.
The microphone's too good. You're still going to be on there. What's that?
Is this one of your guys?
No, it's not mine.
Alright, I'll bring it up then.
Thanks.
All right, so similar to Mike, Clerk's is my number 1. Mallrats is probably my number. Actually, I think Chasing Amy might be mine. I'm tossed up. I'll have to. What I'm going to do is similar to what I'm doing now. I'm rewatching all the MCU. I'm ranking them currently, and I'm going to write up. I'll do a Spin Tune article on them. I encourage you all to send your lists to flixandasix@spintune.com. Do it also for the Kevin Smith anthology. Mike, I want to hear yours. I want to hear your list in order of your favorites. We'll do that. I'll do that for this. Maybe we'll do another group episode about the rest of his movies. I think it'll be a good one. It'll be a fun episode. Yeah, we already know Dominick's number 1. But yeah, this is. It's just such a great movie because it touches all of the things that I love. It's thematically, there's so much fun stuff. I remember going to the mall, like hanging out there, right? I am geeky and nerdy and into comics and things like that. Like, that's fine, and I'm open to it. And it's fine. And I think this like plays into that really well, and it's just such a blast to watch. That being said, it is Easter. We need to get back to our families. So thank you for tuning in. We will be back later this week, most likely, because I'm probably going to put this out there as a bonus episode along with other ones for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, I'm Anthony Costanzo.
I'm Al Bielsi.
Mike.
Peanut Gallery.
Thanks for coming out.